How to pronounce Swedish letters like a pro by a real Swedish person. This is going to be a bit of a long video, and I'm not a trained linguist, so if there are any inaccuracies, which there probably will be, I'm not including IP or anything like that, then please let me know. But I'm just here because I like languages, and I like my own language. So, without further ado, this is how we'll do it. We'll split it into 3 parts. Phase 1, vowels. Phase 2, consonants. And phase 3 is consonant clusters. Specifically those that make a different sound. Like, I'm not gonna go over some type of cluster that you'll see that makes the exact sound that you think it'll make, based on how regular consonants are pronounced. But, fuck it. Phase 1, vowels. There are 2 ways of pronouncing vowels in Swedish. There's a short and a long version. If we go over the vowels in order, it's A, E, I, O, U, I, Å, Ä, Ö. And this little asterisk right here, sometimes more. A few of these vowels can sometimes have a third pronunciation. I think, like O sometimes gets pronounced like an O, and like E and Ä are a bit like that too. And when we pronounce the names of the vowels, we use the long pronunciation, as you heard me. I didn't say A, E, I, O, U, I, whatever the fuck. Uh, let's just get on to the first vowel. A, or as we say in Swedish, A, like in ma, or so. As for a lot of the short pronunciations of vowels in Swedish, there aren't that many great parallels to English. If I were to use these in examples of words in Swedish, I could say the long one could be like fucking. Am I that dumb? Call. Call means like barren. Great word, and it's Kal. Now, if I were to add another L at the end of that, I would get kall, which means cold. That sound is the short pronunciation of the vowel A. Ah, 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 ah. Say it after me. Do whatever you want to. You can pause the video if you ever want to train any of these and listen back to me pronouncing it. Ah, 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 ah. Next letter. E, or as we say in Swedish, E. Like in ear or set. That is set with an E, of course, not like if you were to pronounce with a schwa. I think you can pronounce it like that. For some example words, we could say like, what's a good example? Thea, fairy, F-E, Thea. That's a good example of the long E. As for the short one, we could say, for example, fett means fat. And not like fat as in a person who's fat, but like fat as in the substance. E, E, Fet, fett. And fet, F-E-T, is a person who's fat. Or it can be used as an adjective too. Whatever. Next letter. I, or as we say in Swedish, E. Like in greed, or E, but short. Yeah. So, yet again, not that many great examples of the short versions of the vowels. But for some words that use this letter, an example of a long word would be like is, which means ice. Is, is. Alternatively, for a short version, you could do like finne. That first vowel there, finne. Now, finne means either pimple or somebody from Finland. Fun trivia to know. That first I is short, so it's E, I, E, I, E, I. Next letter. O, or as we say it in Swedish, ooh. Hilariously enough, in a lot of other languages, the sound that we make with O is the sound that you guys make with U. Of course, in English, it's the double O. Cool. Ooh. Ooh. Cool. Whatever. And shit, again, not really a great fucking example for the short version of this. I could say maybe like, no, I can't think of any, but it goes, if we want to have a word in Swedish that has O in it, where it's long, we can say like, fuck, uh, uh, stol means chair, S-T-O-L, stol. And as for a short version, we could go with, say, I don't know, hopp, which means hope or jump, as in a jump. Hopp, H-O-P-P, ooh, 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 oh. Hopp, ooh, oh, ooh, oh, yeah, ooh, oh, ooh, oh. Whatever. If I'm making mistakes, you can yell at me in the comments. This one is funny because there are no examples for this letter in English, at least natively speaking. This is U, or as we say in English, U. Uh, Example of a long version of this letter being used is like in ful, which means ugly. F-U-L, ful. Short, I guess. Up. Up means up, like upwards. That one, as I wrote here. Good luck, because you know why. Fucking. Oh, this one in Swedish actually. In English, you use y as both a vowel and a consonant, but in native Swedish, we're not talking any loanwords. I don't believe y is ever used as a consonant. It sounds a bit like I to English speakers, or I, or your e. So I only have an example of the short pronunciation, that being kind of like in berry, if we are gonna take a long example, we have like frys, which means like refrigerator. E in comparison to the I that I said earlier, that's E, 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 E. Switching between there. First I, then Y. E, 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 E. It's more rounded. And then for the short version, let's do like krympa, to shrink. It means to shrink. Krympa, K-R-Y-M-P-A. Long, E, short, E, 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 E. Next letter, O, like in or. And there's yet again not really a great example of it being shortened. But if I were to give a word, like tear in Swedish is tor, T-O-R, tor. For a short one, we could do like, man, I need to think of one now. Håll. Yeah, I think håll. So håll is like, it's when you get like a stinging pain in your stomach after you've been running. I don't remember what it's called in English, if there even is a word for it. But you know, when you've been out running and you've been exerting yourself, and then in your abdomen you get that stinging pain, that's håll. And of course, håll can also be a version of the verb att hålla, which means to hold something. And I believe that this can take up 3 states, 2 different short ones, of which one mimics the O. O, and then in håll, it's O, which is, yeah, that's the same as in O. So we said O, 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 O. And I think there's another one, but honestly, I mean, if you were serious about this, right? If you didn't just want to hear the pronunciations, you would be looking up a better video anyways. Next letter. like in fair, or the same sound but short, right? So this can sometimes get mixed up with e and vice versa, like e, the like the like this letter at the end of like. However, it is a different letter. This is also how a lot of a lot of the a's in English sound like to our Swedish speakers, like an ish. I think maybe that's a bad analogy. Anyways, for some examples, the Swedish word for are, like to be. What? Yes, yes, to be. Plural to be. Like is and are is the same word in Swedish. They're both the same word. Is är, 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 är. And as for a example of a short version of this letter, there is r, which means scar. R. This letter and then two r's afterward. R. Next letter. Now this is our final vowel. We're almost out of phase one. I've been rushing through this. Great work. Anyways, is this letter. You sort of make the face when you say it. Like it's the O with the two dots, like open mouth, like And yes, like in or the same sound but short. I don't fucking know. So, for example, if we're gonna have a version of this, we could say like bör, which means should. Bör is B R. B, this letter, R. Bör. Bör. Short, it's like so like I don't know. Dörr. Yeah, dörr. That means door. Dörr. And if you make that long, it becomes dörr, which means to like is dying. However, yeah, like short letter, long letter. Fucking hell, I don't know how to structure this. None of this is scripted. I'm just reading off of the slide. What next one? Consonants. Phase 2, guys. It's the consonants. We have a lot to go through, but these are easier than the vowels, yeah? So the consonants, we got B, C, D, F, G, H. Yeah, we have the exact same consonant as English does. And the way you pronounce these in Swedish, in order, is B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Z. We'll get back to the pronunciation of these two later. Well, actually, I guess this one too, because we don't really use them, but okay. B. And yeah, as I wrote here. Oh, fuck. As I wrote here, you don't really need explanation for a lot of these. This makes the exact same sound as in English. Next letter, C. It's the same thing here, right? However, I'm going to introduce a concept called soft and hard vowels now. So in Swedish, if we go back, some of these vowels are considered soft and some are considered hard. They determine consonant pronunciation sometimes, and this will become important a bit later. But you guys, at least in English, see this with C. Like C before A is ka, right? Like calcium. C before E, like in cells, it becomes an S. In Swedish, we would call A hard vowel and E a soft vowel. The hard vowels are A. Well, I'm gonna say them in Swedish. They are A, O, U, O. And the others, E, I, E, Ö, are soft. Soft vowels soften the preceding consonant sound, while hard vowels harden them. So if we go back to C, if you see a C before an A, it's going to be ka. If you see a C before a E, it's going to be C. And the pronunciation of this letter in Swedish is C. Next letter, D. D. It's exact same pronunciation. How kind, how kind. Although with this letter, I mean, you're going to see a combination later, I guess. So there's some variety to them, but it's just D. Like in D, which means expensive. F, exactly the same as in English. I mean, it's just an F, really. G. Here comes one of those dependent consonants. This letter changes depending on if the superseding vowel is hard or soft. If it's hard, it's just a G. You know the sound perfectly. That rhymed, but only because I made it rhyme. Example, if I say gård, that means garden or yard. So G-O-R-D, G-O-R-D, gård. However, if I were to say, use the, let's take the verb to give. That's ge. Ge is spelled G-E. The sound has now become the English Y consonant sound, which in Swedish is represented by the next letter. Well, this one, not the next letter, but this one. We'll get back to this. And in some cases, it actually gets even more fucked because of loan words. So, the way you write genre in Swedish, and there you hear one of your fancy ways of pronouncing the G, J instead of G. Anyways, genre in Swedish is spelled the exact same way as it is in English, but it's pronounced genre. Genre. And that first letter, that first G, devolves into the SJ sound, which we will get back to because there will be a bit more explanation when it comes to that later. But that's G, and now we go on to H. It's just an H. There is really nothing else that I can say about this letter. Now J. In English, J makes the J sound. J, J, J. But in Swedish, we use it as a Y, which is the correct way to use it. An English Y, that is, specifically consonant form. It's J, J, J. Like if I say, for example, the Swedish word for job, it's jobb. What else? Yeah. Loanword shenanigans, of course. Loanword shenanigans in this case have to do with, I believe, particularly French loanwords, like journalism, for example. In Swedish, we pronounce that journalism. And oh no, the SJ sound is back. Well, we'll get over that later. Come on, let's just move on. This is the funny part too. So this letter works in the same way as G. I think, just theorizing, I haven't looked this up, but K and G are actually the same letters except that G is vocalized. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Anyways, K works in the same way, except when this is put before a soft vowel, you get the sh sound, like chemist, which means chemist. K-E-M-I-S-T. Chemist. Placed before a hard vowel, it is a regular K, and also in loan words, it can be used as a regular K. For example, my name is Kevin in Swedish, but it's not pronounced Chevin. Hell no. So loaned terms and words, they sort of walk past it. Same goes for like in Swedish, the word to drive is att köra, kör, and like present tense, kör, jag kör, han kör, vi kör. K-Ö-R, 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 fucking K, funny O with the two dots over it, R. However, there is another word that is spelled the exact same way but pronounced differently, which is choir, which in Swedish is pronounced kör instead of kör. And that's because, of course, choir is a loan word. Kör is loaned, therefore the K isn't subject to the regular softening and hardening rules. That also applies for G, although I can't think of any examples. L. It's just an L, pronounced the exact same way. In Swedish, we pronounce it L, like in the alphabet. When children sing the alphabet songs, you know, they say L. M. Same thing as in English. In fact, M is the pronunciation of this letter in English, and M is the pronunciation in Swedish. Wow! It's almost like it's the same letter. M. Same thing there. Same letter, same pronunciation. P. Same letter, same pronunciation, baby. Q. This letter does not exist in Swedish. Well, it does, but only in really quirky spellings of surnames, mostly. Same goes for W, which we'll cover later. But Q is not used in any way, shape, or form in Swedish, except maybe some spellings, but not even like in loanwords, right? Because in English, for example, you might say quantum to refer to things that are quantum, like quantum science, quantum research, quantum whatever. But in Swedish, we don't use the QU cluster at all. In fact, we use the KV cluster. If I want to say quantum in Swedish, I would say kvantum. KV, kvant, kvantum. I mean, it is still used in like nation names like Qatar, Qatar is how you pronounce that in Swedish, but it doesn't have its own sound, and you're only really gonna see it in like Kvist surnames, Qvist, because people for some reason didn't like to put a K where the Q was. Like Kvist means branch in Swedish, like a branch of a tree. Like a small one, not a very big one, right? It's a small one. It's like a twig, I guess. And it's a very common surname part, like Lundqvist, Nyqvist, shit like that, Bergqvist. But they just want it to be quirky, and that also comes down to later names too. But I mean, a later letter too. Fuck it, next letter R. This is trilled in Swedish, or rolled, you might know it as. We don't do that fluid R that you guys do with the no. So we do trilled. For example, if I say, like, to shiver in Swedish is rysa, att rysa, rysa. You hear that r? That is a hard sound to master if you didn't grow up pronouncing it. It's what I've heard and I've noticed from English speakers who have tried to pronounce it. But I mean, it just sounds better. I think everybody can agree that this, the trilled R is better than that fluid fucking R in English. Like ras, rygg, rad, radhus, rysning, rös, ros, all of those beautiful r sounds. Anyways, next one, S. It's the same as in English. Wouldn't you know it? T, or T, it's the same as in English. Wouldn't you know it? V. Fuck. Okay, nice. V is pronounced the same as it is in English. Via. It's the Swedish pronunciation of the letter. W, this is also fake. Just like Q, this is fake, right? It's used in some goofy ass spellings where you could just use regular V instead. In Swedish, this letter is called W, which means double V, because we don't use it as its own letter. There is no W sound in Swedish at all. It does not exist. It's just V, nothing else. But you might still see this in, like, for example, when I've been to Gothenburg, there is this company that owns properties called Wallenstam. They use a W instead of a V for some reason, and it has to do with surnames. A lot of people wanted to feel more exotic with their surnames when surnames were like originally standardized. So they changed their spellings to have W's and Q's in them. Which has ended up with some goofy spellings, especially like, for example, sometimes spelling like region names with a W too, like for example, Värmland, region in Sweden. They sometimes spell it with a W. Sometimes they switch the Ä for an E. I'm not going to fucking spell it out, but whatever. Fuck this shit. I'm just next letter X. It's the same as in English. X. It's used quite a lot, so it's not completely useless. Although it's yeah, it's just chaos. Yeah, it's just chaos. Like for example, Max. Although yeah, like Max. Uh, Yxa, that means axe. Whatever. Next one, Z, which in Swedish is pronounced Zeta. There is no Z sound in Swedish at all, or in Z if you're American. I prefer to say Z just because it differentiates it from, I don't know, C. And this letter is pronounced like, this letter is so obsolete in the Swedish language. It's only used in loanwords. Like the only time you're gonna see Z being used in Swedish is in a word like zombie, for example. Zombie is going to have it, but you wouldn't pronounce zombie with a Z sound. You would say zombie with an S sound. And this thing isn't even used in surnames. So that's when you know it's bad, right? I mean, it's so obsolete. I don't know if I said this already. I might just be cooked out of my mind that we say zeta, zeta, which is just the Swedish way to say zeta. The Greek pronunciation of this letter. That's how out of touch we are with this. It's like how the Germans call Y Ypsilon or some shit like that. Anyways, I don't know if that's even correct. Anyways, that's the end of the consonants. So now we're going to the consonant clusters. I'm going to mention, I don't think I put this as its own slide, this little thing, but I'll say it after I say CH, okay? I don't know if the mouse is even picking up on the recording, but the very final thing, Tyon, Scion. Anyways, the humble consonant clusters, the ones we care about. There are way more than this, of course, but they just interact like they're distinct phonemes instead of like being one. So, I mean, let's start. And some of these are paired because they're very similar or identical. Let's start. All right, RT, like in art. In Swedish, there is also a word that is spelled the exact same way, which is art. That means species. Art is like this ert, the t sound. You might hear it in a stereotypical Indian accent, especially the next cluster, RD. But it is pronounced the same as it is in English. Like you say art, we say art, 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 art. Maybe that's where the short A could be found. Art, 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 art. No, wait, it's long. It's not art. Yeah, whatever. Next one. Art. Like in card. It doesn't work in Swedish though, because I mean like the card thing analogy, like the previous one did, because card in Swedish is kort, which goes back to this thing. Anyways, art is a d sound, right? Same thing as the stereotypical Indian accent. I believe these are called retroflex consonants, and we usually use R before one to denote them. Same goes for the next one. Yeah, like in barn, same thing there, right? In Swedish, an example would be kvarn, which means mill. Like specifically like a like a mill. I mean, you could also use it for like a meat grinder, köttkvarn. Same thing. I don't need to go over these as much. I'll leave that for the later things, right? RS. Like, I can't think of a... I mean, if with an E afterwards, maybe like farce. I think that's an English word. I don't remember, honestly. No, like wars. Yeah, urs. Varsha. Yeah, okay, so it's a bit different than in Swedish. In English, if you were to like make a plural of like war and say wars, that's not the same as we pronounce this. We pronounce this like for example, in the middle of a word here, varsel. I don't remember the pronunciation to that word. Varsel, Varsel, or bash, which is like a slang term for like shitty alcohol, like beer or shit like that, right? Or like moonshine shit or whatever the fuck. So it's like a sh sound. Of course, this never appears at the onset of a word, but it does appear at the end and middle. Coda, one could say. So like varsel, marsch, that means Mars, bash, fucking whatever. Next one. This thing is oftentimes reduced to just an L. In English, you might say like Carl, like the name. There's also a thing in Swedish called Carl. It can be a name, but it can also be like gentleman. So like Carl. We don't really say the R. It just makes the preceding vowel long usually. Like Carl, all. You could like try to make it more reflex like all, but oftentimes just reduce an L. Okay, next one. TJ. TJ. It's sort of like in shoe. Sort of like in shoe. Like if I like a very common like colloquial greeting in Swedish might be sha. TJA. Sha. Or like Czechia in Swedish is Czechian. Czechian. Like TJ again. Tjej is girl. Tjänst is like service. 20 is 20. They all start with TJ. Next one. These are all pronounced like the Swedish J. Every single one. Every single one. You'd think, oh, no, they should be pronounced differently. No, not at all. Some examples. I'm giving one for each, right? First one, use. Means light. It starts with this cluster. Second one, djur. Animal. Hjort. Deer. Is it deer? Rådjur is deer. Or rådjur, depending on how you pronounce it. I don't remember what hjort is. It's deer adjacent. I know that much. It's not reindeer though. Right? No. And then this one like hjort. Hjort is like to have done. Göra. It's not pronounced with the same like the J here is there to make this pronounced like a J. Like it's basically saying that the G should be pronounced in its soft form because the letter afterwards is not a soft letter, except the J by itself already makes that sound, so it's redundant. Well, anyways, next thing, the SJ sound. The SJ sound, although it is debated amongst some linguists whether this is actually its own sound or not, but if it is a very rare sound. I think I looked it up sometime and it was like Swedish and some like language in Tibet or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. Don't quote me on that. Might just be bad memory. But the SJ sound, sometimes said to just be the sound that you hear in like Russian with the X letter they have, like in хорошо. Part of my pronunciations, any Russians watching this, is pronounced like skjuta, which means to shoot, or like stjärna, which means a star. So like all of these can be used. SJ, for example, sjuk, it can be used. I mean, they all have slightly different use cases, right? So, for example, this one, SK, can only come before a soft vowel. If it comes before a hard vowel, it's just SK. Like, for example, tax in Swedish is skatt, which also means treasure. It's kind of an oxymoron. But tax and treasure in Swedish is skatt, SKATT. But at the same time, sköt, to care, like sköta, to care, is SKÖTA. SJ, for example, is like in sick. Sick in Swedish is sjuk. I believe, yeah, and then like sjö, which means like lake. Can this come before hard vowels? I wonder. Like if we have an O. No, I don't think. Yeah, so both of these two first ones can only come before soft vowels, I believe. Don't quote me on SJ, but I know for SK it only makes the sound if it's before a soft vowel. I don't think this ever appears before, like the first one ever appears before a hard vowel at all. Anyways, this one, SKJ, this one can appear before hard and soft vowels, I believe. Maybe. I mean, this, for example, skjorta, right? Skjorta is how you pronounce shirt in Swedish. Skjorta, SKJORTA. Yeah, whatever. STJ, this final one, I can give an example. Stjärna means star. It's pronounced the same as the others, which is really weird, right? Because really, you could condense these spellings into so much less. And if you wanted to be really lazy, you could just use the IPA symbol. And this is the only IPA symbol I use in the entire video, by the way, as a form of representing IPA, that is. Fucking hell. Next thing. These. Yeah, it's just like a ring. Like it's the sound, except when G comes before N, it's like NGN, so it ends with an N sound too. So like, for example, peng in Swedish. PENG, it means like dime or coin. Yeah, coin is a better example. And like GN here in, for example, regn, which means rain. Regn, regn. It ends in an N sound after the N sound that the G represents here, I guess. I mean, this does appear in a fair few words, like, for example, ugn, oven, or vagn, wagon. But this is more common. And now, this. I don't even know if this is used at the start of words. Yeah, it's a bit similar to the RS sound, but it is a bit more forward. So, for example, affisch, that means poster. AFFISCH, affisch. Or like branch, or for example, like planche. I mean, I just thought of another situation where this sound could be used, which is in revanche. But revanche is spelled exactly the same as revenge in English. In English. So yeah, but there's not a great analog, I don't think. Fuck it. Next. So CH. This can be the SJ sound, but it can also be the TJ sound. So example, in chance, the Swedish word for chance is chans. 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 However, at the same time, I think mostly for loan words, it can be TJ, like in shark, which is like shark. I don't know what it's called in English. It's a type of dairy product, I believe. I know shark is a word. It's a ch sound at the beginning. Shark. Whatever. And I don't think. Yeah. Okay. No. I did not put the like tune, like the last thing here on. But this, for some reason, the T and S's here make the exact same sound as the SJ sound. It's just the SJ sound. And this is used like in a lot of those like words that are like universal amongst especially European languages. Like say verification, like verification, construction. You hear that who sound again. I mean the like it's the TISI, and they never make the SJ sound otherwise, which is really odd. But whatever. Fuck it. I think honestly that's it. Very quick and rapid and fumbling and completely lost video. I've just been yapping, but like it's just I've just been yapping, but it's like the first video that I ever released on this channel. That is public. That is, I did release some ages ago when I was a kid. They are no longer available. But I think like it's nice to just yap. It's nice to just yap. It's super nice, super nice. Feels great talking. And we'll probably get some more gaming videos soon. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Remember to like and subscribe for more shitty content just like this. And if I forget something, feel free to tell me in the comment section below. And as always, see you soon.